Welcome back to the Jackie Tan podcast. And if you're joining for the first time, I'm so glad that you're here. This podcast is all about exploring the human experience, stories of resilience, healing, and the courage it takes to live authentically. The mission? To empower you to embrace every chapter of your life with courage and self-belief. Each episode, we connect with incredible individuals who've faced unique challenges and emerged stronger, offering insights to help you, our community, navigate your own journey with confidence and support. Today, I am thrilled to introduce my guest, Belinda Watkins. She is an artist, a yogi, and someone who's living with fibromyalgia. Her journey is one of profound healing, resilience, and finding her way back to herself. We talk about what fibromyalgia is, her personal experience with it, and what she wishes more people understood about this condition. And that's just the beginning. There's so much more to her story. So I'd love to hear what resonates with you from this conversation. Feel free to reach out, share your thoughts, or pass this episode along to someone who could benefit from hearing Belinda's inspiring story. This is Belinda Watkins. Belinda, welcome to the podcast today. Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you for having me.
Belinda, I wanted to start with how we met, but let's go with when you came to see me in my massage clinic when I was practicing. I'd love to start there because I want to give the listeners some context as to how we got to know one another and how I got to know you and what's happening with you. So let's go to that moment where you came in for a massage. Why did you come in and what were you experiencing?
I was actually not experiencing the type of massage that I required. And I feel like a lot of people, knowing that I had fibro, were too gentle on me, if that makes sense. It was another massage therapist that recommended that I come to you and that you would have an understanding of what I really require.
Yeah, it's so interesting because prior to you coming in, we used to live in the same apartment building. And the first time that we met, or that I met you, you were just so friendly and so warm and had such a lovely energy. And so in saying that, I would never have known you were dealing with fibromyalgia. To give listeners an understanding of what it is, can you tell us what it is and then how you experience it?
It generally starts somewhere, and then depending on the severity of the trauma, for me it went right throughout my body.
What were you experiencing?
So I'd had an accident which had caused burns to my skin topically, and from there, I just had them dressed and thought that was going to be it. And then from there, I just started experiencing pain and heaviness in my hands, and I was unable to grip things. And then it just started traveling. First, it started traveling into my arms. And this is like, I think initially, like it was my hands and arms just to my elbows. I feel like soon after it started in my feet and my legs, and then it was just everywhere.
So let's go back a bit. What was the accident? What happened? I know you said burns, but what type of burns?
I was putting LPG gas into my car at the Bowser, and the thread wasn't connecting properly, and so the gas was leaking out as I was trying to put it in, and it was and obviously that's and see because it's a chemical, and it was just like freezing my hands, like a frostbite kind of, not that I've ever felt frostbite, and I couldn't get my hands out. So I then passed out. And the attendants, I do recall like kind of hanging there and seeing them all in their, cover up gear. And that's when I kind of allowed myself to pass out. I hadn't known about this at all myself, is that when you have a hot burn, we obviously put cold water. When you have a cold burn, you're actually supposed to put tepid water, and they were putting cold water. So, yeah.
What comes of that? Like, how much worse does that cold water and had that done to you?
All I wanted to do was get well and to work out, what was actually happening. And I didn't get into it that far. However, because there's so many like levels and layers to what happened, because the LPG gas is now in my system, and I don't realize, because I just thought I had these burns, and like everyone else. Then of course everybody else was trying to, almost treat me like, nah, you're imagining it. As the pain's starting to happen. And then I started vomiting a lot, and I lost 13 kilos to begin with. And I believe now, well, I know that was my body trying to release the toxic energy that was in my body.
Can we take a step back for a second?
Yeah.
So from the initial accident, you went to hospital?
I did go to hospital, yes.
How long were you in hospital? How did they treat you? And then when you were released, when did these symptoms occur? Like you started vomiting? What was the time frame of all of this?
Yeah, there was a time frame, because I was actually on a country trip. And so I was in this hospital, and as I mentioned earlier, everyone just treated this as I had burns. And so I actually discharged myself from the hospital and drove home, because I just wanted to be home.
What was their advice?
Sorry?
What was their advice?
Just to see my doctor when I got home.
Right.
So
did they want you to stay?
No.
Right. Okay.
No. Or they were happy that I was just ready to go. They didn't want me to stop. They didn't want me to drive. They wanted me. I had a friend who lived in near where I was, so she picked me up. But I just wanted to be home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did drive home with these bandaged hands. But got home, and then the doctor redressed them, and so I still wasn't. I had pain from the burns. But I wasn't experiencing like the fibromyalgia pain, which progressively, like over months, like it didn't happen initially. So I then went back to work, and then all the other symptoms started happening. So the pain, and then the vomiting, and my nose was bleeding. I was then getting the full brunt of the pain, because fibromyalgia is a cross. This is the best way I feel to explain it. It's a cross between a bad flu, and bad sunburn. So you're really heavy with deep pain, but then you're also really super sensitive, and sensitive to everything. It's like a sensory light. I had to be in the dark,
mm-hmm.
And have no sound and no stimulation. And then I would, come good for a little bit, and then I'd go back to work, and and obviously then it would just all happen again.
Yeah. So tell us about I mean, I know I'm going to give you like a million questions in one here,
That's pretty right.
but so how long? So the symptoms are, like you said, that pain, that super sensitivity to anything sensory.
Yeah.
How long does this happen? Like when you get these symptoms, how long do they stick around for? And then how far apart do they happen? And how
Yeah.
far from the initial accident? Because I know you said it progressively got worse. Actually, firstly, when did the accident happen? How long ago was this?
2012.
2012.
Yeah.
And in what space of time did you feel like you were at the height of all your symptoms? How long between?
Oh, the first time, um, maybe 3 months.
Mm.
I reckon it took to get to, that was just kind of little things were happening. And then I kept working, but not even just the working. Every time it was my nervous system, my whole nervous system had been, well, shut off, So that was
Zapped.
and obviously then it's like a domino effect of everything. And then I started saying to my GP, there's something wrong with me. Like this is just, it's not normal. Especially when I was bleeding, my skin, I was getting like almost like hives all over my skin. Like and it was just all, my body was just not coping with any of it. And I needed repair.
How long did it take for the doctor to give you that diagnosis?
The diagnosis, not long.
And so once you got that diagnosis, what was sort of the treatment and the instruction from there?
Yeah. So the instruction was to still work 3 days a week. And whilst doing that, within this pain center, I would see a pain specialist and then also a psychologist and then like an occupational therapist. Mm-hmm. So the pain specialist was making other people realize the severity of what was going on. But it was my pain specialist that the final time, because I went back 7 times over the course of maybe 2 years. So I would, have a spurt of working and, I'd work from home, work from bed, because I was doing sales. So, I could do that. However, I was still unwell, so I still wasn't healing until the final time where I had gone to work and ended up again in hospital and I'd stopped breathing. And that's when I came back to see the pain specialist and he said, your full-time job from now on is to stay alive.
What happened? Why did that happen?
It was just too much for my body. It was just, so I've been, when I'm unwell, I couldn't even put clothes on. That's how sensitive my skin was. And I wasn't eating or drinking or I wasn't even sleeping. I was just in my mind. And to be quite honest, in my mind was the recovered for me, thank goodness. Because I think in these situations, you're either going to be a victim or a survivor. Yeah, and then I would go back to work. So I'd be putting on high heels and makeup and doing my hair and driving and my body just couldn't cope.
So he tells you you need to focus on surviving. What does that mean? What's your next step? What do you do? And what is surviving?
Well, at that point, it was a lot of medication because to survive at that point, I needed that. Yeah, and because I'd in that final one where I'd stopped breathing, I'd lost I'd lost my ability, my balance, my motor skills, my speech, which then progressed to bowel movements and bladder movement. I lost control of everything, and I had to go to rehab from there. And that started with. Sorry, prior to that, I couldn't look after myself either. So I had Meals on Wheels, and then I had, people that come and set up a shower chair and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit confronting to talk about, actually. So then, I went to rehab, and that started with hydrotherapy and then progressed to clinical Pilates. I started doing yoga, meditation, lots of meditation, breath work,
How
and
long?
anything.
Yeah, sorry. How long did it take? So once you started rehab, you started implementing all these really,
Yeah,
really good things, nurturing your body for,
yes.
body and mind. How long did it take for you to start to feel better in any way or notice a difference?
Once I started rehab, I was definitely, it was a progression. Once I had got to a point where they said, look, you're in a good place to do whatever you wanted to do, but you're welcome to still come here. And I wanted to put that part of my life, I wanted to move away from that part of my life. So that's when I went off and started yoga. Amongst other things, I've always been pretty healthy, but I was, looking to anti-inflammatory foods because, that was a huge part, the inflammation, which makes sense. Cryotherapy.
How was that? That's interesting because that would feel, considering the sensitivity on the skin, what was that
Yeah,
like?
that was like a huge, I've just got goosebumps talking about it. That was like a huge milestone for me because I was taking myself back to what actually hurt me, a cold burn. And I was putting myself back in that position just because, well, number one, I knew that it was going to be good, but also I kind of wanted to confront that fear. And I did, and it was amazing. I was on a real high after that. Yeah. And then I did the same with so the yoga studio that I go to then implemented Pilates into the studio, and I feared it for a little while because I thought mentally I just didn't want to, go back to the Pilates. But then I thought, you know what? Nah, I've got to do this as well. And funnily enough, now I'm back at rehab and realizing that I should have never stopped. But that the journey
What was that
I felt
realization? Yeah, sure.
the way that I approached the cryotherapy is the way I needed to approach that as well, and just realize that, going back is not putting yourself back in that position.
Mm, yeah. And so what was rehab offering that you couldn't get outside of it?
So another symptom, a very, very common symptom, which I didn't realize until I joined a support group on Facebook, actually. And a lot of people were talking about their jaw dropping out and the mobility in their jaw. And I was like, oh, wow, another symptom that, I just thought this was something that I was going through, but it was another symptom of fibromyalgia. So in the 10 years that I hadn't been in rehab, she said to me, oh, we had this all strong. And I'm like, I had blanked all of that out of my mind when I decided to, move on and go to yoga. because of the fact that I didn't want to, I didn't want to remember it. And now just doing, the exercises that I either just the ones that I do at home when I'm not with her, my body remembers it. My mind just had blocked it out.
Yeah.
But now we're back in sync.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
One thing you told me, which blew my mind, I mean, everything that you're saying really does, but you would get 3 injections of Botox in your head.
33.
Oh, 33.
Yeah,
Wait,
there's
okay.
a particular
Wowzers.
in your head, neck, head, neck, and there's 2 here and 1 here, which is pretty good because,
Sure. Has its benefits, I guess, depending on who you are, what you're thinking. So firstly, that was because of the migraines that you were getting, correct?
The severity of the migraines had caused the ambulance staff called it a mini stroke, and I've checked on that since with my neurologist, and I did have brain damage from the severity of the migraines. So the Botox obviously was stopping the muscles or paralyzing the muscles enough. There wasn't enough space for me because the migraines were horrendous.
When did they start, and how long had you been having them before seeing your neurologist?
Yeah. See, this is good because these are other things that I've blocked out, these time frames. Yeah. But I'm slowly going to piece it all back together. So every time I tried to go back to work, I just ended up in exactly the same state where I was, having not just headaches, they were resulting in progressing to migraines. It's same with, my balance and, it would be, I wasn't in a healthy state, but each time I would, put stress, any kind of stress on my nervous system, and work was the worst, obviously. Everything was heightened and everything just would get worse.
So it was nearly 15 years ago now then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are you at right now? How are you feeling? And how is it affecting you at the moment?
6 years ago, I could be a bit wrong with that, but when I was, I weaned myself off medication, all of it.
Question?
And you don't ask me what all of it was.
What was the medication?
So I was taking painkillers. I was taking tramadol, which is an opioid. I was taking the lowest dose, which is 50 milligrams, and I was just, I was in the beginning taking a lot, and then I was just taking 50 mils in the morning, so once a day, but that was still every day. But initially, it was like, this is the only thing that gets me out of bed, and that was what I wanted, what I needed, because exercise was not just important to me as a person, but it's also important, obviously, for pain. And particularly yoga. Yoga was like the best.
Why was yoga so good for you?
Yeah. So when, particularly at nighttime, trying to get to sleep when you have chronic pain is, you're lying there still and it just takes over. It really, and you can't escape. So, I would get up and get some relief. But once I started doing yoga, it was like, yeah, this is what I need to, and breathing, the breath work, like breathing into the pain and being mobile and doing hot yoga where your body just kind of eases and unwind all those nerves. You almost just feel them just unwinding and getting shivers again. That's exactly how it feels. It's like, okay, this is my pain relief. And I sleeping tablets was another thing that I was taking because I just wasn't getting any sleep. And that's when I discovered art therapy, because then I would get up and rather than just lie there, with this pain, I'd get up and move around, and I started painting and distracting myself.
So, forgive me, I forget, was it 6 years or 6 months ago that you completely went off your medications?
Oh yeah. So no, about 6 years ago, because I was so proud of myself, and then I started getting like fevers and I was upset and hot flushes. But then I realized I was menopausal, and that's when everything just, that whole domino effect again. When I was talking about vomiting from the gas, I'm guessing. Well, I'm not guessing anymore. But I was drinking. I was just thirsty all the time, and I was drinking. I was actually started counting them, because I was drinking 12 liters of water a day, and
How
still
much were you
thirsty.
weighing?
Well, I wasn't. And
You were.
another whole issue, yeah. I was no longer getting my nervous system wasn't giving me the messages. So and I wasn't conscious of it to begin with. I mean, there was so much going on. And obviously with work cover, also then I'm going through a legal, with work cover and trying to actually prove that I'm not lying. And, I had this invisible, it was a lot mentally, and, mentally more than physically. You know what? Not all of it. It was a mess. And I was just, like I was having nightmares. My nightmares were like people were standing on top of me. Like I couldn't breathe. It was like, so there was a lot of things that they were too hard. I just wanted to get out. I wanted to get well. I wanted to keep my home. And, so I had to go through the work cover. So, yeah, so then I went to see a urologist. She measures your wee, and she, documents as you're weeing, and her first response to me was, "What a mess." And so,
Why?
because there was like really drawn out long wees that would last for ages, but really slow. And then other times my wee would just be the opposite. And my bladder had stretched because of drinking all the water and not weeing. So then there was more issues there. And she had spoken about having to have this bag, and I'm like, no. I need to know what I can do. And she said, well, you set a timer and just make yourself go to the toilet, because I didn't realize that I could do that and just make myself. And then once I got myself into a routine, and then, got my body into a routine. And that's a huge thing. Yeah, come on.
Sorry, I was going to ask, did she test your urine?
Yes.
What was found?
That there were still toxins in there.
Right. So the instruction was then set a timer for every whatever it was.
And retrain your blood. That's been the biggest lesson for me, I think, in everything on this journey, is just like we do with exercise, our bodies have a memory, and we can use our mind to retrain or train our mind and our body.
Yeah, and our systems. So have you
Yeah,
applied that to any other part of your body, any part of your system, your mind?
definitely with ADHD, which I've only recently been, 12 months ago diagnosed. With the medication, I noticed that I had so much more space and I wasn't like, a computer with all the tabs open. It was like I could actually navigate more. And that's when I thought, you know what? I did that with my bladder. Now I'm going to be very, very conscious and make sure that I'm getting this feeling so that I can train my brain as well.
What is your self-care routine, your recovery routine now, and how does that vary when symptoms rise?
So, yoga, and so I'm walking. And my morning, rather than take a pill, I hop straight in a hot shower. Hot water is brilliant. Then I walk on the beach and the lake to yoga, and then I do a yoga session, and then I catch the bus home because I'm all zen.
Zen down?
My food is Ayurvedic. So I, sometimes just like any other person, I'll, have something naughty. But I really notice now after doing my panchakarma, which I probably should explain too, right? So that was like
let's get to that part in a moment. Let's
okay,
stick
sure.
with the
Okay.
the routines and rituals that you
Routine?
currently have.
Okay. Rest, like a lot of unguilty rest, which is really hard when you're, like I still kind of struggle a bit with like, oh, I should is another word that I'm very consciously trying to take out of my vocabulary, along with sorry. So yeah, just resting and just being, just incorporating, meditation and getting just being me and doing whatever feels right for me and not feeling guilty about it. And I every season I have a like colonic irrigation that's been excellent for my gut. Because obviously all related and autoimmune because I have celiac disease as well.
Did that come after the accident?
No,
Okay.
that's another whole story.
Sure.
But I am disease free now. So I didn't get diagnosed till I was 32 years old. And my last colonoscopy showed that I'm disease free.
Oh, brilliant.
So yeah. So
Well
that's
done.
exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would come back to all the beautiful and nutritious food that you're having, all of the meditation that you're doing, the movement for your body. It is all coming back to everything that you're doing to take care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. All of it, the cryotherapy,
Exactly.
I do anything that I possibly can. And sleeping, and I'm like my sleep. So my last sleep studies, initially when I went and had sleep studies, I thought that I was waking like 3 or 4 times a night, and then when I got my results, she said, "No, you wake 22 times an hour."
Whoa.
So, yeah. And there's nothing, you don't have sleep apnea. It's all related to your nervous system. Yeah.
When was that taken?
Yeah. That was 3 years ago. 2 years ago. And then before I went away to do my panchakarma, because I felt, I wanted just out of interest, but also because I'd changed from taking sleeping tablets to taking CBD oil. So I just wanted to see what the difference was. And I felt like I was sleeping really well. And she said, well, there's a bit of an improvement. Now you wake up 17 times an hour.
Wow.
So, yeah, but you know what? And this is another aspect of the pain specialist saying your full-time job has to be taking care of yourself. So when I get home from yoga, and I have my lunch, if I need a nap, I have a nap.
Yeah.
Because there's a good chance. I just really listen to my body.
The last sleep study that you had was when, and are you going to organize another one post Panchakarma retreat?
Yeah, I feel like I will. Yes.
So
yes.
when was
But
the last one done?
Just before I went, I reckon like June.
Yeah. Yeah. And since the retreat,
Yes.
have you noticed a difference in your sleep and how you're feeling when you're waking up?
I'm still don't sleep solidly.
Okay.
But this whole journey has also heightened my spirituality, and I am having a lot more spiritual experiences. And so I'm still navigating where it all kind of fits in, because I feel like all of it is, it's just this one human. So all of it is, it's all part of the healing journey.
Yes. Let's go to Panchakarma. What is it? And then what was your experience of it?
It's a detox and then rejuvenation.
Beautiful.
So the part of it is the detox. And so what happens is you drink ghee, so fat, for the first 6 days. And these are all tailored to what so I had obviously specific goals and ailments. So my first 6 days were drinking the ghee, and you're eating, minimal. You're eating broth and khichdi, which is a gut rebalancing meal. And then you're having treatments topically as well, which saturates the body with ghee, which, the fat protects all of the organs. Because on day 7 you were then given a drink that, and then you're actually in a sauna with the drink. It's called a Shanti box, and then as you're sweating, the ghee starts coming out, and then you go back to your room, and then you start purging. And during this time, you can't drink water. For me, it happened over 8 hours. And yeah, it started with 5 projectile vomits and then 28 bowel movements. And it's until there's nothing left. So all your organs are protected, and this is just taking any toxin out right down to your cellular level. So you're empty. And then
you must feel like death after that.
Oh, it was, yeah, it was.
Yeah. So then what?
So then from there, so you like your first meal is this little bit of electrolytes, but it's a specific program. So then you start building so that's your first little drink, and then the first meal is the broth of red rice. The following day, you're back on the broth and the khichdi, but you have enemas each day. So your first enema is to get rid of anything that's still left in the body. That's a huge one. And then the next day you have one that rebalances your GI tract. And then you have one that relines the gut. And then you start eating solid food and Yeah, and the treatments then are all about rejuvenation, and particularly for me, after that whole process, my fibro pain was everywhere, and my first treatment, waking up from that, was warm medicated sesame oil, and it's just poured all over you. Oh, it was amazing. I didn't think I was going to be able to get up out of bed to go to my treatment. And I didn't know what my treatment was going to be. And then when they did that, it was like, yeah, that was the best pain relief ever. As well as your treatments, you're doing, gentle yoga. It's all about, uh, massaging the digestive system and just getting everything back in alignment.
So after that,
Yes.
how do you feel, and do you feel different to before doing the detox? Because it sounds pretty intense. Is there a
Yeah.
difference? And did forgetting the spiritual side of it on a physical
Yep.
side, does the body feel different afterwards?
My nervous system, like, it was exactly what I needed. Then now I've been able to navigate when my pain comes, and how different it feels. Just simple things like food. Some food, because we don't realize that when we're all piled on with all this stuff, that, just certain things, and they can be healthy things, but they're not right for your body, can cause pain. It triggers, and for me in particular, I really wanted to teach myself boundaries, because I've always been such a people pleaser. And those kind of things, because if you don't, it's just that they're part of your pain as well, there's so many layers of stuff we don't
There's just
realize.
so many layers.
Yeah.
What do you want people to know about fibromyalgia?
That perception of, oh, so you'll be right now, you can go back to work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's that perception of, if you can't see it, it doesn't exist. But it's completely so far from the truth.
It's not just pain. There are so many, the sensitivity is, and the sensory overload, it can be frightening, particularly if you're in a crowd. It's like a panic attack tenfold. It's your nervous system. Yeah.
When you reflect back on everything that you've been through, what are some personal wins and things that you're proud of?
Very proud of not having medication. Very proud of that. And addiction it's not what a lot of people think it is. It's you're getting, you rely on things. You rely on them to make you feel better. And
I was just going to say that I think out of anyone, because I haven't understood it very well, and the person that explained it so beautifully and really, for me, was like, oh, that's what it means. Or it just hit differently, was Dr. Gabor Mate, who said that, the addiction isn't the problem, the drug isn't the problem. In fact, it's a good thing. It's the thing. I mean, good thing, not quite what I mean, but it's the solution to the problem. Yeah, it's taking you away from the pain, or away from the thing that you cannot handle in that moment, And it's not
That
the medication or the drug or the whatever it is that you need to be focusing on. It is the pain. It is the problem that needs focusing on.
down.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And you have to explore them if you want to get to that point, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Having that courage to go there it takes a lot.
I think my addiction is working that stuff out. Like,
Yeah.
Getting to a better version, I guess.
Belinda, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me and go through all of this. And I know you said it was confronting, so I do really appreciate you doing that today. I would like to throw it over to you. And I don't think I told you about this, but at the end of the podcasts, what I like to do is throw it over to the guest and have you ask a question, not to me, but to the listener, to the person who's listening today. What question do you have for them that you want them to maybe think about, maybe not answer right now on the spot, but to think about throughout their day or their evening or even throughout their week?
Wow. Okay.
On the spot, huh? Sorry about that.
Is on the spot. Probably, how well do you know yourself?
And she comes in with a goodie.
How deep do you know yourself too?
Yeah. What a question. Yeah.
Because, there's still a lot of, I've still got lots of answers that I'm, navigating about myself and my makeup and my, my limits and all of that stuff.
Amazing. Belinda, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really appreciate it.
Therapeutic.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Please like, share, or subscribe to the channel. Share this episode with your friends, because the more we can share everyday stories like Belinda's, the more we can help make this experience one that is a shared one with the human collective, and hopefully help others to get the support that they need and reach out to those who are experiencing the same sorts of challenges. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. Have the best day, and we'll catch you on the next one.